right. Well, welcome to Rate the Dream, Life, Love, and Mortgages. I'm your host, Melissa Landon, and I'm here today with Laree Miller. She is going to talk about all things military spousing and moving and the ins and outs. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I appreciate you. I know how busy you are. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your history and how you became a military spouse.
Sure. My husband and I are from the same hometown. He joined the military in 2003, so 22 years ago. And yeah, it's been a long time. And we first duty station was Germany, and then we went to Bragg, Campbell, back to Bragg, went up to Ohio, and then Fort Belvoir. So we've kind of been
Nice.
all over the place.
Yeah, you guys have been. When did you guys, now you guys have 5 kids, right?
Do. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I can.
So when did you guys first buy a house while moving, or did you? Because some people
Yeah.
didn't.
That's a great question. Well, the first duty station was Germany, so we just lived on base. The second duty station was Fort Bragg. My husband was going through the Q course for Special Forces, so we knew it was temporary. Didn't buy, we rented, unfortunately. And then when we went, our first purchase was our home in 2007 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and we bought on the Kentucky side because it is a base that kind of straddles the Kentucky and Tennessee state line. But we bought our first house in Oak Grove, Kentucky, in 2007.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you guys use a VA loan?
We did. Yes.
Nice. The reason I ask is because some people I've asked and I've talked to, they were like, no, we didn't know, or we wanted to do a first time home buyer program. They didn't know the ins and outs of a VA loan,
Yeah.
which I'm glad that you guys did. So, okay. So first house in Kentucky,
Mhm.
how long did you guys live there? And did you have qualms of maybe not purchasing? Cause that's something I find a lot as a lender when you're talking to people and they don't know how long they're going to stay.
Sure.
Right? They're like, "Oh, we don't know. We just maybe want to rent because we don't know how long we're gonna be somewhere." Now, did you
No.
guys?
Well, no, I'm so glad. I'm so excited that we rented or that we purchased our first home. So we were there for about a year, and then I got pregnant with number two, and we actually decided to buy on the Tennessee side. So
Okay.
we kept our first house, we turned it into a rental property, and we bought our second house in Clarksville, Tennessee, about 10 minutes down the road.
Okay.
And used another VA loan the second time.
Perfect.
Yes.
Nice. And that's also something cool that people also don't realize. I know you're a realtor, so you're like, it blows your mind, right? That people don't realize you can use it more than one time. So now do you guys still own those properties?
We do. We actually have three rental properties and then our primary residence, and all
Okay.
four of them are VA loans.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. All
Yeah.
four. So you guys maxed out your eligibility. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, so you bought them all and you rented them all out. What is now obviously benefit of a rental property is great, but the pros of that or the cons of that, if any, have you guys come across?
Oh, having a rental property?
Hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, the number one pro is the passive income.
Right?
Uh, we also rent a lot to military families. And the VA allows you to, obviously, when you get those PCS orders, to turn that into a rental property.
Right.
Um, but I would say, I guess, so number one, like I said, passive income, just building your real estate portfolio and building your wealth. That's number one. Real estate's one of your number one asset wealth
Yeah.
building tools. Cons, obviously, just I always tell people whenever my tenants call me, they're not calling to say hi. They're either calling to tell me that something's wrong or that they're moving, right?
Right.
But it's definitely worth it.
Right. Well, and you said, are all of your properties very close to bases or similar? So you do get a
Yeah.
lot of military, so that's
Yeah,
probably
that's a
easier.
great question. Yeah, so that's a great question. Two of our rental properties are at Fort Campbell. One's in Kentucky, one's in Tennessee, and then our second one, it's outside of Fort Bragg,
Okay.
but it's in Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Okay. And
And
then obviously the one up here.
yeah, and then the one here in Northern Virginia that is our primary residence.
Okay. Is your husband still active duty?
Yes. Yep.
Now, you guys ever odd that you guys would leave or move?
No, I don't think so. With his position he currently has, yeah, we'll eventually he'll retire here.
Well, that's good. That's good. You guys like it here. So moving around, moving with kids,
Yeah.
obviously, and PCSing and all of that, tips, tricks that you have learned over the years that you would like to pass on to
Yeah.
anyone watching?
I would say give yourself, a couple months of grace. Just, be patient with yourself because it's trying to find a whole new grocery store, routine, friends. So it's a big change up for the entire family, for your children and yourself. My husband always said for like the first 2 to 3 months, I was typically in a bad mood because as I was adjusting, and then I would always fall in love eventually with the place,
Yeah.
and you know have my routine and just get familiar with the area. But just give yourself some grace and know that you will get settled. You'll get adjusted and acclimate to the
Yeah.
area.
Of all the places you lived, what's your favorite place you guys have lived? Germany's got to be kind of cool though, unless you lived. I mean, a lot of people I know visit, they're like, "Oh, it's so great," but living there,
Yeah, I mean, well, Germany was great. Unfortunately, it was before like cell phones. It was 2003 to 2005, so we did limited. I mean, we did some traveling. Just I felt like we would have probably done more had we had
right?
that segue of having a phone with, a map and
Oh gosh, yeah.
translator. So I don't know. I honestly I love each place we've lived at.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so circling back a little bit, because it said, I mean, you guys at one place you weren't there very long, and you bought anyways because of the generational wealth the potential it gets you, and you can buy one house with your VA loan and buy another one and buy another. Now, obviously, it depends on the area a little bit, right? And as a
Correct.
realtor and a lender, we can explain that better to people that have questions. But so, I guess backing up a little bit, so you would tell people if you can do it, you buy.
100%. Oh
It
my
makes
gosh.
financial sense for you, yeah.
Yes. Yes, 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 and yes. We actually, even when we came here into, because we've been at Fort Belvoir since 2017,
Mhm.
we were a little overwhelmed because it is such a big area.
Yeah.
So we ultimately decided to live on base. Looking back, I really, really wish we would have just bought like a cute little townhouse or something like Hayfield. But we didn't. But yeah, no, 100%. If you can buy and you can make it work, and the beauty of it, the VA loan is you don't have to put your first time using it, you don't have to put anything down, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And I help a lot of clients, military clients, when they're moving. I always give them the information. Do they want to turn it into a rental property, or do they want to sell it and liquidate and free up their VA eligibility? We just, I provide all the information. They make that
Yeah.
decision. I've kind of now getting to the process from how a lot of clients sell, and they're just making incredible amounts of money, which is so great. Like I have a client, were expecting their first baby. They were in a Quiet Harbor in Stafford, and after everything, I mean, they lived there for 2 years, didn't do any upgrades, and they made $100,000.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean,
And it's
it just
so
because
great.
it's
I think
so
some of
fun
it
if
is
it's family.
yeah, and some of it is us here in Northern Virginia versus
Sure.
some of the other areas, but again, like you're saying, I tell people too, like if they're coming in here and they're calling and they're looking for a loan, and I said, well, if you can keep that property, I would keep that property, especially coming to Northern Virginia, your eligibility is higher because the cost of
Yeah.
living and the price point is here, and a lot of people have homes that aren't nearly as expensive as Northern Virginia.
True.
Now, coming from California is a little different, those that's harder to do, but yeah, my advice was always too, gosh, keep it, turn it into a rental, leaving your
Yes.
departing residence and you have the orders and your VA allowed you to do that. It's such a great
Yeah.
option. And I think a lot of people are scared to do that, to be a
Sure.
landlord or, and
Yeah.
you're all the way far away, you're not close, but they're property managed. Now, do you guys manage your own? Well, you're a realtor, so you probably manage your
I,
own, but there
I
are property management companies,
yes.
right?
Oh,
That can help.
absolutely. There's property management companies. I do manage them myself. I managed them myself before I got into real estate. It's actually kind of was my segue of what got
Oh,
me
nice.
interested in real estate, was managing three of them from afar. So that's
Okay.
something I also provide my clients with, that if they are interested in turning their property that they purchase into a rental property, that I can show them how to do that themselves. Because you have a better ROI
Nice.
each month by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Oh, and so then we'll go into that. So then how did you get into real estate then for managing your current rental properties?
Yeah, so I have my degree in elementary education, and I had done my student teaching. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did start doing some subbing, and yet I felt really drawn. I felt more passionate with the real estate.
Yeah,
So when we were coming here in 2017, I started getting my license, finished up in 2018, and yeah, it's been fun. I love it.
nice. So
Yeah.
right before the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah, it's been fun. Like I will say, it
Yeah.
has not been a linear thing. It was the build up and into the COVID.
Yeah.
We had that anomaly of interest rates.
Yeah.
So that was,
So sad.
yeah, that was interesting, fascinating
Yeah.
times. And then now just, coming off of that. So it's been interesting.
Yeah. I think the market I had someone ask me the other day, because, and you probably see it in an influx of listings, and there's some of them, not all of them, but I feel like some are sitting a little bit longer. And I was having a conversation with a buyer yesterday, and
Mhm.
he was hesitant to buy. They're going to be here for 3 to 4 years
Okay.
average. They have not purchased because they were overseas, and some, and they just haven't. And he's like, but it looks like the market has slowed. It's a terrible time. And I was like, no, I actually think it's kind of leveling out.
Great.
It's
Yes.
great, right? And I was like, you don't have the rush of touring this house online. It's like
Oh,
most
yes.
military buyers, that's what you do, right? You guys give them the
Virtual
tour.
showing.
We send them the estimates, and then it's like sight unseen. I said, now you actually have some time for your agent to view a handful. If you're, in their case, they weren't coming beforehand because they're overseas. But I was like, now you kind of can think about it, talk about it, where before it was like, you had no chance, right? You had to like
Oh,
look and write an offer and decide if you wanted to. So I think
sure,
we're seeing a little bit of it leveling out. Now there are still some crazy sawed off neighborhoods and stuff.
sure.
You've probably seen them, especially closer to the city. I found too.
I agree.
But I think the market settling out is actually really beneficial.
Oh, I,
I know sellers don't love it as much, but I know my buyers that I have, they do, because they, like you said, they get to actually look at more than one and be like,
yes.
right, do I not right? So
Yeah, and I mean, and they get home inspections,
yes,
which is a
yes.
beautiful thing. But yeah, they just it's a much more healthy market.
I agree. I agree. It's a little bit more pre-COVID, pre-pandemic too. I've been
Yeah.
doing this for a really long time, and I mean, it was competitive, but it wasn't what, COVID and the lower interest rate, all of that created.
Yes.
So, and, I think some of it too also depends on where you are in Northern Virginia, because, there are some down Alexandria that are probably, still competitive. Some sit, I don't know. It's really weird, but I like it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
told them, I said, you should buy. It made sense for them to buy. They had some money and saved up from, moving around and being overseas. So
Mhm.
I think they are going to do that.
Oh,
So
I hope so for them.
yeah, yeah. Any other tips or tricks, or you think that anyone should know that's listening?
I mean, also kind of just going back to purchasing. So when we lived on base, a personal thing, we, or your BAH, you get your BAH, but then they
Mhm.
automatically back because you're renting.
Oh,
Um, so at the end of it, when we built our house here in Knoxville, Virginia, I just kind of was reflecting on, oh my goodness, how much money I just wasted. And we have nothing to show for it. There's no
yeah.
tax benefits, there's nothing. So just going back to, if you can,
Mhm.
yes, go to a duty station, buy the house, live in it. If anything, you have the benefits of the tax, benefits, write-offs. You also have the natural appreciation depending on the area that differs. But yeah, I would just huge advocate for
Yeah. If
paying
it makes
yourself.
sense. Yeah.
100.
I agree. I agree. All right. Well, I mean, we covered a lot. I would
Yeah,
love for you to give some info about yourself, who you work for, the areas you specialize in. I feel like we
absolutely.
specialize in all areas, but if there's areas that you specialize in, I'll let you do your little shout out.
My name is Laree Miller. I am a real estate agent with Keller Williams Metro Center. I help families buy, sell, and rent properties anywhere in the Northern Virginia area. And I'm always available to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, I appreciate you being
Yeah.
here, Lori, and giving all your expertise.
Yeah, thank you so
I will link all your information so anybody wants to reach out to you and has
much.
questions. And that's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.